Picture a hacker in a movie. You know the scene, right? They're sitting in a dark room, wearing a hoodie, typing furiously at a keyboard, and suddenly, click, they're in. It's dramatic, it's super tense, and well, it is almost entirely fictional. If you've ever wondered how your digital life actually gets compromised, I promise you, it's rarely because some genius hacker brilliantly guessed the name of your first pet. The reality of modern digital break-ins is far more mechanical, highly automated, and honestly, kind of fascinating once you look under the hood. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding the digital vault. We're going to strip away all those Hollywood myths and look at the actual underlying logic of password attacks, plus the incredibly ingenious cryptographic defenses we've built to stop them. Think of this as an ongoing, high-stakes arms race between automated cyber attacks and modern system architecture. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the hacker's reality. Then look at the attack arsenal and how they hack the human. After that, we'll cover layered system armor, the defense matrix, and finally, protecting your personal vault. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the hacker's reality, automation versus guessing. There is a huge, stark contrast between the hacker myth and the reality. The myth is all about relying on human intuition, luck, and guesswork. Look, hackers don't sit around using their brains to crack into your specific account. The reality is a massive, humming array of servers. Hackers leverage immense computing power and automation to relentlessly test systems. They aren't picking locks by hand, one by one. They're literally building machines that throw thousands of keys at the lock every single second until one finally turns. And this reliance on computing power creates what we call the efficiency ladder. Because frankly, hackers are inherently lazy, or rather, they're highly efficient. They are constantly seeking the path of least resistance. Just look at how the timeline of an attack drops dramatically based on the method they use. A pure brute force attack might take decades to crack a complex password. But as attackers move up that ladder, upgrading to dictionary attacks, then to rainbow tables, and eventually bypassing the machine entirely to just phish the user, the time and computing power required absolutely plummet. The ultimate goal is always to maximize the hit rate while minimizing the computing cost. Which brings us to part 2, the attack arsenal, escalating the threat. Weapon number 1 is the oldest trick in the book, brute force. It's essentially a mechanical sledgehammer. It exhaustively tries every single possible character combination, A, B, C, all the way to Z, then AA, AB, and so on. It is raw, unrefined computational violence. Now, if a hacker has enough time and computing power, brute force will theoretically break any pure text password. But time is exactly what this method wastes the most. So attackers developed a much smarter variant called credential stuffing. This tactic relies on the massive, cascading danger of password reuse. Hackers don't start from scratch anymore. They take giant lists of usernames and passwords leaked from a compromised site, let's just call it website A, and they feed those credentials into an automated system. That system essentially stuffs them into the login pages of banks, social media platforms, email providers, the whole shebang. They are betting entirely on human nature, specifically the fact that most people use the exact same password everywhere. Now, if they don't have your leaked password, they'll break out weapon number 2, the dictionary attack. Instead of the blind sledgehammer of brute force, this acts a lot more like a scalpel. Hackers abandon random combinations and instead run automated scripts against pre-compiled lists of common, human-meaningful passwords. They use dictionaries of real words, common phrases like admin or 123456, and pop culture references. Because humans are predictable and we desperately crave easy-to-remember passwords, scanning through these files rapidly, drastically increases the attacker's hit rate. But what happens if a hacker steals the database itself? Well, they don't find your password in plain text, they find encrypted code. Enter weapon number 3, rainbow tables. This is the ultimate master key. A rainbow table is a massive, pre-computed cheat sheet. Hackers use supercomputers to calculate millions of encrypted values well in advance. So when they steal a database, they don't have to crack anything in real time. They just look up the encrypted code in their massive table and instantly reverse engineer your original password. Actually, to really grasp what rainbow tables are attacking, we need to take a quick detour and clarify a super vital concept, hashing. When you create a password, a secure system doesn't save the word Apple. No way. It runs it through a mathematical meat grinder, a one-way cryptographic algorithm that spits out a completely unrecognizable fixed-length string of characters. That weird string is the hash. The database only ever stores the hash. So rainbow tables are really just giant lists mapping common passwords to their resulting hashes. Okay, moving on to part 3, hacking the human, the ultimate bypass. As cryptographic defenses grew stronger, hackers realized something really profound. Breaking machines is hard, and it's expensive. But breaking humans? That's cheap. Weapon number 4 is social engineering and phishing. You can build a towering, impenetrable firewall around a system, but phishing ignores the wall entirely. It targets the human directly. Attackers disguise themselves as official banks, IT admins, or trusted services just to send you targeted bait. They might even scour your social media for personal data, like your anniversary or your pet's name, just to guess your security questions. It completely sidesteps technical cracking by tricking you into simply handing over the keys. So, what do we do about all this? Part 4. Layered system armor, breaking the hacker's machinery. The tech industry hasn't just been sitting back letting this happen. Modern systems deploy clever, layered armor specifically designed to jam the gears of the hacker's machinery. Defense line 1 is rate limiting and account lockout. Think back to brute force and dictionary attacks. They rely on speed, right? Testing thousands of passwords a minute? Well, rate limiting physically stops those automated scripts in their tracks. By tracking the number of failed attempts in a short window, the system simply drops a gate. You enter the wrong password 5 times and boom, the account locks for 30 minutes, or you get hit with a CAPTCHA. Suddenly, an attack that absolutely required speed is frozen, rendering those specific weapons completely useless. Defense Line 2 directly attacks the rainbow table threat using hashing and salting. Systems don't just hash a password anymore. Before hashing, they add a completely random string of characters. That's the salt to your password. Even if 2 users have the exact same password, let's say Apple again, the unique salt makes the resulting hash completely different. Because the hacker's pre-computed rainbow table doesn't account for this random salt, their multi-terabyte master key is instantly turned into digital garbage. But what if a phishing attack gets your actual password? That's exactly where Defense Line 3 comes in, multi-factor authentication, or MFA. This upgrades a single-line defense into a multi-dimensional vault door. The attacker might have something you know, your password, but they don't have something you have or something you are, like your physical smartphone or your fingerprint. Without that second physical factor, the stolen password is completely useless. They simply can't cross the threshold. And this brings us to Defense Line 4, the absolute bleeding edge of security, passkeys, and the passwordless future. Using protocols like FIDO2, systems are eliminating passwords entirely. When you log in with a passkey, your device uses local biometric authentication, like Face ID, to unlock a cryptographic key stored solely on your physical device. No password is ever sent over the internet or stored on a server anywhere. If a hacker breaches a server, there's literally nothing to steal. If they send you a phishing site, there is no password for you to accidentally type in. It neutralizes the threat right at the source. Let's pull this all together in Part 5, the defense matrix, the perfect countermeasure. When we pull back and look at all of these mechanisms together, we see that modern cybersecurity isn't just some random collection of tools. It is a highly structured defense matrix. Take a moment to think about how neatly this arms race has actually played out. Every major automated attack vector has been met with a systemic countermeasure. Rate limiting entirely defeats the high-speed guessing of brute force and dictionary attacks. Hashing combined with salting utterly neutralizes the threat of rainbow tables. And when attackers bypass machines to use phishing, MFA acts as a fail-safe, while passkeys eliminate the vulnerability altogether. It is a truly satisfying matrix of defense. It's like a game of cryptographic chess where the defenders have built an exact answer for every offensive move. Finally, Part 6, your personal vault, actionable security. However, there is one absolutely critical caveat. All of this brilliant layered system armor still requires the end user, yes, you, to manage your digital hygiene properly. The final guardian of the vault is you. System architects can build the thickest vault doors in the world, but if you leave the physical key sitting right under the welcome mat, it doesn't matter. Understanding how hackers operate, how they leverage automation and exploit password reuse, empowers you to take actionable steps. You don't need to be a cryptographer. You just need to follow a few simple, unbreakable rules for your personal digital vault. Based on the hacker's efficiency ladder we just analyzed, here are your 3 golden rules. First, length beats complexity. Forget trying to memorize passwords with a dozen crazy symbols that you'll just forget anyway. Use a long passphrase of over 12 random characters. It vastly outpaces the brute force sledgehammer. Second, never ever reuse passwords. Defeat credential stuffing right now by using a dedicated password manager, like 1Password or Bitwarden, to generate and remember unique keys for every single site. And third, enable multi-factor authentication everywhere. Lock down your email, your banks, and your social media so that even if a hacker gets your password, they are left standing outside the vault. So, we've decoded the logic of the attacks, and we've seen the sheer brilliance of the defenses. You now know exactly how the machinery of a digital break-in works, and more importantly, how to jam its gears. The systems are absolutely doing their part to protect you, but the final piece of the puzzle is entirely in your hands. Take a hard look at your own habits today, and ask yourself, is your digital vault truly locked? Or are you just hoping the hackers don't notice the doors propped open? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Now seriously, go secure your accounts.